we could spend a half hour to an hour really discussing what all goes into the decisions at any position to play guys. And, obviously I will just talk about JT in terms of how he handled, first of all, our recruiting process to get him here, how excited he was to be a Georgia Bulldog. The pandemic obviously was a setback in terms of his rehab, and then getting him here was probably the best thing we could do. He can speak a little bit more to that. All he did was work his rear end off to try and get healthy, to learn the offense. He's a rare individual in terms of loving football and studying the game. And he didn't get his opportunity early on. He can speak to, again, his health, but he was eventually healthy, but he requested to go down to the other end and continue to work. Obviously, you can give everybody reps, but what he did is continue to work and compete. And when his opportunity came, he took advantage of it. Obviously, there's a number of things that I'll be 55 in February that I look back on and think I would have done, should have, could have, would have, maybe done differently, but there's no sense in looking back at that. The moment JT played and prepared, it was time to move forward. And I think he's done a great job, not only before his opportunity, but then since then.
Thank you. Yeah, Coach and JT, I'll ask you both. I'm curious as how much you guys have kind of learned about each other, over these past, 4 to 6 weeks plus, how much better do you guys know each other, know what you do well, know what you want to do?
Coach Monken first.
I think there's a part of any relationship that I do think right away when we met, I do think there was a connection there in terms of what we were looking for and what he was looking for moving forward. So I think that was a really good start. You really don't know anybody when you're in the courtship stage, because we were in the recruiting stage. So obviously I'm different than what I might have been for a few weeks trying to recruit him than when he gets here. And good and bad, some better, probably some worse. But from JT's end of it, I'll just speak from my end of it, is that one thing about it is he's a sponge, loves to be coached, loves to have the answers, which is a huge start at the quarterback position. There's a lot of things you can do with JT that you can keep it as quarterback controlled, because he's going to study the film. He's going to want to know the answer. You don't have to tell him everything. You don't have to look to the sideline and change the play. He can do that on his own. And he embraces that challenge of being in control. And that is the first step to being an NFL quarterback, is the quarterback being in control. And so it's been great. But from the get-go, it was, because there's never a doubt in terms of the amount of work that JT's willing to put in to be the player he wants to be. Very few people have a love of the process of playing the game of football like JT does.
JT?
Yeah, I would say we speak the same language, especially in terms of football. And it's something that, I learn more as the season goes on. But even when I wasn't playing, I was still on the sideline with Coach Buster, during the game. So I was hearing all the play calls, starting to learn more and more how he thinks and how he understands. And it was, something that I got to learn originally when we were on Zoom calls when I was getting recruited here. We used to watch film and do whatever we could through transfer portal rules. I think it's just grown and developed. And, at this point, there are times where I'll get the formation signaled in and I'll know exactly what he's calling and things like that. It's just, the more I learn about him, the way he calls the game, and, the more time we spend together, that, it just grows and gets better and we have a better understanding.
And it was hard at the beginning because we were building what we want to do offensively. It's hard when you're trying to put together without a spring what we want to do from different places I've been in the staff collectively. So when you're going through things, but there's no guarantee. What we're doing today could have been completely different than what we were introducing in May. It just is, just where we've evolved as collective staff. So it's been a good, and I think we're only going to get better and get on the same page more and more as we the offseason in 2021.
All right, let's go to Mike Griffith with Dog Nation and then Mark Weiser, Athens Banner Herald.
JT, I want to ask you, I remember earlier you were talking about doing all the Zoom calls, all the coaches around the country. Obviously, your background as somebody that studies football is well documented all the way back to sixth grade. What was it about Coach Monken, though? I mean, you talked to a lot of offensive gurus. You studied a lot of offenses. You probably could have played anywhere in the country. What was it about Monken that made you know that this was worth traveling across the country to play for him?
Yeah, so there were definitely a lot of great offensive minds I was able to speak to. There was definitely an instant connection. The thing I tried to do with most coaches was see how they call a game, take me through the offense you run, and, your kind of philosophy. And there's an instant, connection as soon as I watched the first game with Coach Monk on, I think my first Zoom call with them. It was just something that he sees the field very similar to how I see the field. I think we both have very similar, kind of philosophy for how to attack a defense. And it was something that, I knew it was exactly, what was best for me.
Hey, Todd, you alluded to 2021. I want to ask both of you and JT, when you look at the progress the offense has made as the season's gone along, where do you see it going with the number of returners that could be coming back for next season?
Well, it's exciting. I did, when I first got here and I saw some of the young skill players, some of the freshman wideouts and the backs that we had, I thought, I think we have a chance to be really good on offense. I don't know when it all comes together as a staff, and when do I do it better for our players? When do our guys mature? George is still a young player as well. When those guys start to mature a little bit. But we are excited about not only the guys that will be playing on Friday, but the young players that we've got, especially at the skill positions, that as we're able to move forward, and a guy like JT, who's certainly capable of distributing the ball and understanding where we want to go with the football. So it's an exciting time, especially for me. And, hopefully we'll have a chance to have a legit off season, be able to study what we did, what the difference is that we want to change as we move forward, because college football is different than NFL. There is a lot of differences that I think we'll continue to build off of that and develop who we are as we keep moving forward.
Is that the same for JT?
Yeah, awesome.
There's a lot of talent on the roster, and there's guys that as fans not many have seen yet. So people have seen Arian Smith make one catch. Jermaine's growing a lot. You have a whole young group of O linemen that work every day. I've got to see him grow. Guys like Cedric Van Pran, see how they attack the game. I think you have a really good class of young guys that aren't just talented, but are also guys that enjoy the game of football, and they show up every day with a good attitude, and that they're here to learn and get better. So it's something good to see, and something I think you'll get to see. As they grow, you'll see a lot of it next year.
All right, let's go to Dean Legge with Dog Post and Seth Emerson from The Athletic.
Hey, JT, I wanted to ask you kind of a different question. Did you fly out here or drive? And when you did, when you were coming along the way, what was kind of some of the stuff you were thinking about in the car or the plane? Where'd you stop? Did y'all have masks on the whole time? What was that trip like?
I got here in June. I flew out here and I slept the whole plane ride, so I couldn't really tell you.
Okay. What was your immediate reaction, sort of 2-3 weeks in? Pandemic?
2 to 3 weeks in. I think as soon as I got here, just driving around, you see a lot of Georgia, everything, and that was from Atlanta all the way into Athens. Everywhere you go is Georgia. Everything is football here. And it's something I instantly fell in love with, I think the environment of just the entire state of Georgia, and this is my first time in the state of Georgia. It's something that fits me really well. And that is, there's so much support and community around Georgia football, as a whole. And it was something that, instantly grabbed my attention, something that I instantly fell in love with.
For Todd, two questions, but related to answer together. When the story of your first season at Georgia is written, how much did Jamie Newman's opt-out decision affect what you had planned to do this season, especially when he opted out? And with everything that happened this year, including no spring practice and the QB situation, has the offense you envisioned when you came here been different than what you envisioned?
Well, first, let's start with Jamie. Not much in terms of changing, because at the time when Jamie was practicing, we were still in competition. Sure, certain things we were doing with guys who were a little bit more athletic that, we probably don't do nearly as much now with JT. But, it's hard to say what you envision. Obviously, it was tough without having spring, and without really, the preparation you'd like. But, at the end of the day, no one really gives a shit. We're in a get it done business. There's a lot of other teams that lose players and that didn't have a spring and changed coaches and didn't have as good of players as we have. So, everybody has their own issues they've got to deal with. And yeah, there's certain things that I wish I could have done better, that I would have coached better. I would have communicated better. I would have made better decisions on game day or during the week in terms of preparation. And that'll never change. And it hasn't as long as I've been coaching. But, obviously we certainly had our opportunities at Alabama. We certainly did. And we certainly had our opportunities at Florida and didn't take advantage of it, just speaking offensively. But I am excited about the guys that we do have. I really, really enjoy our staff. I think our staff does a great job collectively in the areas that they have in terms of game planning, in terms of bringing ideas to the table, because this is never a one-man show. It never can be. And coaches want to be involved in terms of their areas, contributing to the game plan. I just happen to be the one that finalizes things and gets a chance to call it. But I'm really excited about our staff moving forward and our young players.
All right, let's go to Charles Odom, Associated Press, and then Jake Rowe, Dogs 247.
Or JT, can you talk about your development since taking over at quarterback in terms of how much of the playbook has been made open to you, and how much more freedom have you been given now that you've had the extra bowl practice?
I wouldn't say there's too much extra, in terms of freedom. It was something that instantly Coach Monken had told me on my first call that, made me want to come here, is that there wasn't really you don't have to develop the ability to do that. We want quarterbacks that can, play the game and, get us in the right play before the play is snapped. So I've always, every quarterback here since, the offense was installed, we have the ability to, verse a certain look check to something, or if we're in a certain play and, there's something that's stopping that play, get us in the right play. So it's always been there. I wouldn't say there's much, anything that's too new in terms of that and, what we're doing. But it's something that, we've always been able to do, get us in the right play. And we have the freedom to do that, before any play.
JT, I've heard a lot of talk about 2021 and everything. So I just wanted to ask you directly, what are your plans for next year? Have you, are you coming back? And then Coach Monken, how big would it be for your offense? How much would it mean for what you want to do to have JT come back?
Yeah, it's not, something I've honestly given too much thought to. This year's going by fast, and I'm focused week to week. South Carolina, I was focused on South Carolina. Missouri, I was focused on Missouri. Vandy, I was focused on Vandy until that was no more. And then since then, I haven't gone home since I've been in Georgia. I've been here. I was here through Christmas, here through Thanksgiving, and I've been here getting ready for the bowl, since that Vandy week was over. So I really haven't given too much thought to anything. This week is Cincinnati, and then once the offseason comes, we'll, I'll be thinking about the offseason.
I think, very similar wise, it's, I think our guys have done a pretty good job of the task at hand, which is the game this Friday. Join one more game together with this team. We have a number of guys that, is going to be their last game as a Georgia Bulldog. Obviously, it's been a different year in terms of just off-season, season, travel, how we go about things. So I'm just excited about one more opportunity together with this group come Friday.
All right, let's go to Roddy Nabulsi, UGA Sports, and David Pascal, Chattanooga Times Free Press.
Coach Monken, can you tell us a little bit about what you expect to get out of Brock Vandegrift now that he's won a state title and he should be headed to UGA to join your quarterback room? And JT Daniels, if you would just clarify something for me, but you basically committed to Georgia sight unseen. You'd never been to the state, you'd never been to the school, just traveled, just decided, hey, that's where I'm going, just showed up with a backpack and clothes?
Coach Smart met my parents before he met me.
How did you go about that? Just to say, look, I've never even been to the state, but I'm going to go play ball there.
Yeah, location didn't mean anything to me. It was best situation, best team, best staff, and I found all three of those in one school. Did not matter to me where it was.
All right, JT got me laughing. I forgot what the question was. Can I get it?
Basically, give us a breakdown of what Georgia's getting in Brock Vandegrift. Because
there we go. I wasn't like I'd forgotten about Brock, but when I first got here, and I was talking with Kirby, he talked about a quarterback being right down the road, a young man that had been committed to Oklahoma, but was trying to, if he could stay closer to home. I think what you're getting is a high-level competitor. It's one thing being around him. For a young man, he loves to compete. Football, he loves the weight room. He played through the back half of their year with an issue with his knee that resolved. So, you talk about someone that, obviously his dad being a coach and being around it his whole life and athletics, and his sisters are athletic and competitive. And so you just love that about him, how much he enjoys the process of being a really good player and competing. To me, that's probably the biggest thing is he's a competitive joker.
This is for JT and Todd. Given the way this season has transpired and the way this offense has kind of started to come together, the performances at South Carolina and Missouri, are you disappointed this is the last game? I mean, do you wish you had 4 or 5 more games to kind of see? Because it kind of still feels like this offense is in the development stage right now.
JT, you take that first.
Yeah, I do feel like we've been really hot. As of lately, I think a lot of young guys have matured, tremendously, from George to Jermaine to Big Warren on the line. There's a lot of guys that have gotten a lot better, and I think you're seeing what that's looking like now. Obviously a little later than we would have hoped. I'd love to play with this team forever. It's an amazing team. I think there's great central leadership. There's a lot of great things to this team, but obviously that's not the case. For me, I'm just focused on giving, Cincinnati, the best we have. It is, as Coach Monken said it a lot this week, and this is the last opportunity to play with this whole team. As much as I'd love to keep going and keep playing with these guys, this is the last one, so we're gonna go, give it everything we have.
Yeah, it's been an interesting run, over the weeks that we've had, with some games being canceled and who we played, and our guys maturing. And I'll just reiterate what JT said. It's interesting. I don't think any given week at a certain point we took for granted that we would play. It got to the point where certain games are being canceled or moved, and we've been going at it a long time. I mean, since we came back in June, and our players have been off the chart in terms of how they've worked and prepared and understood to control what they can control. It's been a long grind. I mean, it has been for our guys, and college students as a whole, this has not been easy for them. And the enjoyment of a college environment and home games, and we didn't get our seniors didn't get a home finale here for senior day. So they've been awesome and been about as good as you could ask from our team to keep working, and it's continued. And I'm just excited about seeing how we can finish off the year this Friday.
Okay, we just got time for one more question. Let's go to Connor Riley, Dog Nation.
Hey, Todd, what have you made of the progression of Darnell Washington this year, and how do you go about trying to get tight ends involved in your offense?
Well, first of all, Darnell has, from the moment that I saw him, you can certainly see the upside of a big, athletic, tough young man. I mean, you can just see that, what his upside can be as a raw player. And to boot, he is an awesome kid. I mean, he is an awesome kid, always smiling, got a great disposition about him. But it is hard at times because we did have Trey McKitty who came here. And, you know, with Fitz and him and trying to get the guys on the field to maximize their measurable skill set and what they do well as a young player, try not to overload Darnell early on has been difficult. Now, as he's progressed and we've gotten more and more comfortable quarterback and be calling it in him, obviously we tried to get him involved a little bit more at Missouri, you know, as the game progressed. And I do think he's got an unbelievable upside. And it is hard, you know, for our guys because there is really only one ball. So really good running backs, and I promise you, if you ask them, they'd want more touches. And, you know, for a while there, everybody was on my ass about not getting it to George. And, you know, then Jermaine makes some plays, and then everybody wants to throw it to Jermaine. And Kieran is doing great. So that's just part of what we do. You're just hopeful that you have enough skilled players to where they have to defend the whole field, and all the players that are on the field are capable of making plays, which I think is a sign of a really good offense. The best offenses have that in terms of weapons of tight ends, wideouts, and running backs, I think, which gives you the opportunity to take advantage of mismatches and make them defend the field.